Okay, so I would like to welcome our very first cast member to Millennial TeaV. Thank you to the one and only Alex Murrel for joining us today. And we are so very excited to have you. I know you're not Alex Murrel anymore, you're Alex Johnson, but to me, you will always be Alex M.
Yeah.
Alex M works. I'm good. You can call me Alex M forever.
So before we get started, I just wanted to tell you a little bit about us. So the three of us met in the Hills subreddit, actually.
That's
and
so cute.
Yeah.
I love
I've
that.
always really wanted to do a podcast or something based around reality TV, and Laguna Beach and the Hills were always my absolute favorite. So I was super excited to start with Laguna Beach, and I found two other girls who are just as obsessed with reality TV as me. And so we are having a fantastic time reliving our 2000s millennial lives. And
yes, girls. Love
yes, it's amazing.
So I just wanted to say, like, it's funny that you said that this was 20 years ago and you can't believe people are still talking about it, but it's like we're talking about it and people are forming real friendships from it. Like, we've never actually met in person, which is the weird thing, but like
Aw.
we are such good friends with each other and we love like talking about pop
Yeah.
culture and the same thing. So it's just super cool.
That's like the best part for me about it is that like people can all connect on like different levels of how much they love the show or be fans and like look at you guys. Like that's meaningful. That's cool. You know, that's something that I hope people like took away from it and can relate to with the other people. So
and the show still holds up today,
yeah.
which is amazing. Like, it's not, even though it was like the first of its kind in reality TV, it's still so iconic and so good to rewatch over and over, which it's gonna live forever. So you've gotta hang on to that.
I know. Well, it's funny because I feel like, and I feel part of that is because we weren't so inundated with all this reality TV. So people were so invested in our show, right? Because there really wasn't anything like it at the time. And so now it's like, I mean, it's all reality TV, right? So it's like, it's just another series or this and that. So I think that was like the most special part of Laguna Beach and the Hills and all that. So
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah. Well, I just love this. I feel like we're like all chatting like girlfriends.
I know.
That's the vibe. That's Millennial TV. That's what we were trying to accomplish. So that's awesome. So we've been having a really awesome time dissecting Laguna Beach, but we cannot wait to get some of our lingering questions answered. So I hope that you remember. I know it was a while ago.
No, I feel like I did some like brushing up before we did the Uncommon James show. Like I literally called Morgan, who's still like one of my best friends, Morgan S. I don't know if you guys probably remember.
Yes. We know her as Morgan S. Yes.
There you go.
Morgan S. Yeah.
And I would call her. I'm like, okay, remind me, like, what were some big moments? And because I have like the worst memory, so I feel like I've done some good brushing. All right. Recently.
Well, we're gonna quiz you here for sure.
Okay.
So my first question for you: did you audition for season 1 of the show?
No, I didn't. Okay, at that time, no one, like, and I'm sure everyone said this before, but like no one knew what it was. And I was so busy with tennis and I was doing musical theater and like part of my drama club. And like, I was very busy in high school. And so I just was like, like that doesn't really sound appealing to me. Like, I don't really care. And we had heard that they had gone to other high schools. So like, it really wasn't like like this big thing. And I just thought it was a long shot for anyone doing it. And then when they picked our group of friends and it came out, it was, it was crazy. We were like, oh my gosh, like we all thought it was gonna be like a true life. I live on the beach. Like, and it was gonna be one time and that was it. And then when the second season, before the even first season was done airing, they were already casting us. And I just happened to fall in because, I mean, those were like my group of friends. And then Taylor and Kristen had drama and it was kind of the perfect storm because I was very outspoken and wanted to just, so. Yeah.
So the casting process for season 2, it wasn't like an audition. It was kind of like you were friends with these people and it just happened.
Pretty much. They like, I think I remember, I never like filled out a packet or did any of that kind of stuff, but I remember just sitting down with producers and they were like asking me questions about, everybody and anybody. And just trying to get like a read of my personality, I think. And then they were like, it's yours if you want to do it. And we were like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
You know, and then like, I think it was like maybe 2 episodes in of it airing, and we realized like, oh my gosh, this is going to be like this huge, like people are like responding so well. So, and we were already like filming, you know, so it was kind of nice because we weren't like so jaded, like, or like trying to be something that we weren't, because we saw like the reaction that people gave the show when it was airing. It was like very true to like who we were, and still being so naive, like just being ourselves on camera.
I think that's what makes the show so unique, is that you guys were not trying to be reality TV stars. You were literally just teenagers living your lives.
Yeah, totally.
And things just unfolded, and that doesn't really happen organically anymore on television. No. So that's what's so great about it.
Yeah. And we also don't see kids in high school with this kind of drama. Like it's all like young 20s.
You guys had some intense drama.
Oh, I know. And I think now looking back, like we totally get canceled. I'd be like the most like it's so like there's so much now going on in this world that like my fight with Jessica, like God forbid that ever like happened to like now. Yeah. Oh my gosh, you'd be
social media would blow you up.
Yeah. You'd be destroyed, but we still love you.
Oh yeah, no, I was like even without social media, people would be like, you stole her boyfriend, like as I'm walking down the street. I'm like, oh my God. And even like when we did the Uncommon James shoot, people, that's why Jessica and I posted a photo, because we think it's so funny that people now are like, like you should see like the comments on my TikTok. I'm like, you guys, like we're friends. No one stole anyone's boyfriend. Like we're good. We're married. We have kids.
Yeah.
But you're like, we barely remember that time.
Yeah. And I know people just want to like stay in that like, you know, that world. So I get it. And
for sure.
I kind of think it's funny. So
it is funny. It's hilarious.
Did you watch all of season 1? And what was your opinion being in school with them of the OG love triangle between Kristen, Steven, and Lauren? Was it as big of a deal when you guys were in school or not so much?
So, okay, Kristen was like my best friend. Like she didn't go to Laguna. She was going to a different high school. And then we met in driver's ed, and her and I just instantly connected. And then she ended up coming in our junior year, and I was really close with her brother, and it was this whole thing. And her and Steven like hit it off right away. And there was definitely that little love triangle there for sure. Like there was like, that was always kind of the drama, but how it unfolded made it seem a lot more dramatic than it actually was. Like I like to describe like, and I'm sure you guys remember in high school, like things were like a big deal for like 2 weeks.
Yep.
You know, and then you were over it. Whereas like, but when you're filming a show, it looks like the 2-week fight is like a year long. Right. Yeah. So like, it was just for them, like, I mean, it was like a little blip that like they ran with. And I do know that like Kristen and Lauren, like, they didn't like love each other. They didn't like each other really. And Steven was kind of that like nucleus of like why. And it just kind of, they played it out a lot bigger than it was, but it was definitely a thing, I guess, like within our friend group. And they were older, like those were the older girls, and we were like a year younger, hanging out with their guys, like, you know how it goes. So
And I know Lauren has said that she had like boyfriends during some of this time, but it obviously wasn't shown on the show. And so it was probably way less of a deal, especially when she was seeing other people.
Oh yeah. It's like, it's all piecemealed together, you know, like that's why I say like with Jason and Jessica and the whole thing that happened, like that whole drama. I mean, that was like, so they like piecemealed and cut and pasted and edited to make it look like when they were together, I was going after him. And like, there was like, it was just they had a writer in another room, like literally writing storylines, like as we're filming. So they knew kind of like what they were trying to do. And then we would come and do like voiceovers or like do pickup like scenes and like everything kind of became, you know, the way that they wanted it to become. And so when I remember like getting because they would give us the VHSs, like, and we would like watch it like the week before it came out. And I was like crying, like, oh my God. I'm like, I thought I was going to be like the funny, me and Taylor were going to be like the funny girls. And like, I'm like, there was no funny, like anything. Like we were like.
You still were though. You still were. You definitely were still the funny ones. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I tried. Yeah. So,
and you had a character arc as the show went on. So
yeah. We all hated you in the beginning and loved you by the end. So honestly,
very kind of you. And it's okay if you hated me too, like all the way through. I'm good with it. Yeah. So you either did hate me or love me. I feel like there was like no in between for me. It was like I am just like Alex. That's who I would have like. That was me in high school. Or it was like, you're a bully. Like you're so mean. And it was like, well, someone and Kristen and I always bonded over this because she felt the same way. And like Kristen was like the easiest always to get along to. And she's such a guy's girl that like she was made to seem more villain-ish even on the show than she ever was. Like all the girls on the show had some catty parts in this story.
It's
but like it was
totally.
It was like all cut the way that they wanted it to be. They had to create characters, you know.
Well, and it didn't help that the guys on the show too constantly pointed to the girls being like so dramatic or creating drama.
I mean, like there's like that episode where they're like, watch how scared they're gonna get, like when they did, like, the it's like, you know, it's just it was funny.
Yeah, we always laugh because Talon is always like, the girls are so much drama. And we're like, Talon, you're the drama.
He's such a drama king. I love him. Like, he is like us. He's like, he's like another girlfriend. Like, love him, you know?
So speaking of Jason, what was that like having the high school relationship be like a major plot point? Like when you realized that that's what they were doing?
So this is like so strange. So Jason and I had known each other for years. Like our parents were best friends and like we were always like best friends. Like I was also like the girl that hung out with a ton of guys. Like, and I had a boyfriend, like a serious boyfriend, like from sophomore year all the way like off and on through after even high school. So there was like a moment my senior year that we like broke up, this boyfriend and I, and like, I swear to you, it was like a 2-week, maybe like a month, maybe at the most a month thing where like Jason and I were like, hey, like, let's have fun. Like, is this like actually something? And like, I remember it when it played out on the show, my like then ex-boyfriend was he was like, wait, like he's like, were you cheating on me? Like, where's the timeline here? I was like, and his family, and I was like, oh my God. It's because it made it look like it was like the whole year.
Right?
And even like winter formal, for example, like I had asked, this is like, I love talking about this because it's like, yes, I can get my actual story out.
We want to know.
Yes. So when you ask, you know, when I asked Jason to winter formal, winter formal is usually in February. So you ask in like November. So I asked like, or December, like sometime before the new year. And so when I asked him, he wasn't with Jessica. And then in between that time that we actually went to winter formal together, they had somehow gotten back together within like a month of like winter formal happening. And I had said to Jessica and Jason, like, hey, I'm totally cool. Like, you guys go together. I'll go with whoever Jessica was going with at the time. And they were like, no, it's fine. Like, we'll all be in the same place. Doesn't matter. Like, and I was like, I don't have to take a picture with him. Like, you guys can do it. Like, I was so respectful. And
I know.
I'm so surprised you said that because on the show, it's like, I don't care that they're boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm going to go with him.
No, it was like, there was a whole conversation about it. And then, so then that was kind of like that little, like, that's just like an example of like, and they would feed us lines too. So they probably like wanted me to like play it up that like, I'm going and I don't care about Jessica. And me being like the naive reality like person that had no idea what they were going to do with all this, I was like, sure, like, here we go. Like, not thinking about what they were actually telling me to say. So, you know, it's just like little things like that. So Jessica, Jason, and I always laugh about like, we're like, this whole thing is, but I will say like me and Cabo, like that was a real fight. And like, I didn't like handle that correctly, I would say, like, but like, that was as raw as it gets. And as much as I hate to say that, like that was a real fight. But like the whole like winter formal thing, like that was not me being like trying to like, you know, get her boyfriend or something.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Okay, because we were
Yeah.
talking like amongst ourselves. We're like, if you had a boyfriend, but someone else had asked him before you guys got together, is it appropriate for you to,
Yeah.
let
Go
them
to
go
the
together?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, and I feel like we were all good enough friends that like it wasn't like I was like this random girl that Jessica didn't know that was taking him.
Mhm.
Like it was like
Okay.
everyone knew Jason and I were friends, like, and like it was, and Cedric and I were best friends. Like it was just always like the three, like Cedric, me, and Jason always. And it just happened that he got together with Jessica and he was like, no, it's fine. Like I see Jessica every day. Like it's winter formal. Like who cares?
So you and
So-
Jessica were friends
Yeah, we
prior
were.
to.
I mean,
okay.
so we went to a very small high school. There was like less than 200 in our graduating class.
Mhm.
So Jessica, we were all friends. Like even like our whole grade had pretty much gone from K through 12 together. And so Jessica was kind of in a different group, but we were still friends with that group. Like I'd say like my main group of girlfriends was like Alex Hooser, Morgan, Taylor, Kristen, and like a couple other girls that you don't know. Like, and then Jessica was like Emily and Courtney and like a whole nother group. And Kristen kind of like went back and forth between both groups. And so did Hoosie. And so
That
we
makes
were
a lot
all
of sense.
friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but it was like, they weren't like who I was going and spending the night and like
Mhm.
Not your
things
best
with.
friends.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Talking about Cabo, we always are like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that all these kids' parents like are letting them go and do this. So how did you
Oh,
guys
yeah.
pull that off? And then we're wondering, would you let your kids do that when they're seniors?
Okay, I think about this all the time. Laguna is like such a special little town. It's very hippie, very artist driven. Like my dad's like a big hippie. Most parents were big hippies. Um, and not to say that that means anything as far as like the leniency goes, but
Mhm.
I feel like there was like mutual respect between the parents and the kids and trust. And there was very much like parent supervision going on. So it wasn't
Mhm.
like we were like doing things like behind their back. Like I think
Yeah.
like they were making sure like no one was, you know, getting in trouble or anything like that. But looking back, I mean, I don't know. This I've been talking about this with my friends. Your kids are going to drink in high school, right? Like they're going to try it. They're going to,
Yeah.
and God forbid that they ever do drugs. Like that's like I'm like, please, dear God, like you
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
ever do drugs. But if my kids wanted to drink, I like there were times that we would like jump into the canyons of Laguna just to like have a beer because we didn't want anyone to see. Whereas like that is so dangerous. Like someone broke their
Mhm.
arm in the middle of the like in this deep canyon. Like we could have. I mean, there's so many scenarios that could have gone wrong.
Yeah.
These kids are gonna do it somewhere, and if like I would never supply my kids ever without anything, like nor would I say, oh, it's good, go do it, or like tell them like. But I at the same time, I don't want them to be going behind my back and doing something that's
Right.
even more unsafe. So
Mhm.
I don't know. It's a really hard parenting call. I think it just depends on the kid and like
Yeah.
but I do feel like I mean Mexico, you're 18, you're legal there. You
Yeah.
know? So it's like the rules are a little different and
Mhm.
it wasn't like that at home. I mean, like there was no parents at the parties we were at, you know, like they
Mhm.
weren't like, oh, we like, you
Yeah.
know, come on over and drink. Like, I
Right.
think it was just like they knew they couldn't stop us in Cabo. We were kind of
Yeah.
like, you know, and it was safe. Like there's a lot at that time, like there's a lot of crossover between Cabo and Laguna. Like a lot of people that lived in Cabo would move to Laguna. A lot of people in Laguna would move to Cabo. So like we had friends that lived down there. We knew the bartenders. We knew like if someone were to get in trouble, like it wasn't like it was a very big mesh of like it was pretty
That's
much like
super interesting.
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
you would
So
never
there was
know. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of like I felt at that time we were in a good position to feel safe and like responsible, and we would go to the same bars and the parents knew where we were at and we'd have to check in, and especially with the cameras around us, like they knew that we were, I mean the line, I forgot what like her job title is, but it was pretty much to keep us in line and make sure we were okay like while we were filming. So
Yeah.
I think the
That's
parents
good.
were like, this is great.
That's true. You had
Yeah.
supervision going down there.
Yeah.
And I don't think prior, like my freshman year, like because we would go every year since like 6th grade, and we weren't drinking then, you know, or anything like that. It was like really honestly like, oh, hog wild, like senior year, let's go for it, you know?
Yeah.
So
they really make it seem like you guys have zero supervision on the
Yeah,
show. Like it
never
really,
see the
honestly,
parents. Yeah.
I would have never known that you guys had chaperones and that you were like being watched or looked after, because it
Yeah.
genuinely looks like you guys are 25 years old and out clubbing and having the
Mhm.
time of your lives and no one's watching.
I know. I think there was a lot of, I remember there was some, like when the show was airing, like a lot of parents were upset, like, because I don't
Really?
think
Yeah.
because they were mad at MTV. Like, why are you making these kids feel like they need to like go to like have a party in order to film and like all these things, you know? So,
Yeah.
and I know some of the like, you know, the parents were mad at the kid, like, you know, it was kind of like it's gray. It's very gray, that whole
Yeah.
thing. Some parents are more lenient than others, and you know, it just
Yeah.
was. I mean, my dad was like, "You get good grades, and you don't lie to me, and you have all the freedom in the world." But as soon as I like didn't get good grades or lied, like everything was cut for me. So it was like we had a very open relationship, and I was able to like. And now, like, when I went to college or when I left, like, I didn't go crazy. You know, I kind of like had already like been like, you know, it wasn't so constricted like in my family that like I was gonna like go hog wild after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, speaking of Cabo, you know we have to talk about it. The big confrontation with Jessica. Was that forced by MTV, or was that something that you was gonna happen regardless because of how upset and angry you were?
I hate to like say that. I wish I could say like, oh, they really just made me get angry. But that was like probably like high school hormones going crazy and being an idiot. I mean, the real story, like this is kind of a crazy story. I was out, so this was when Jason and I were like dating, and we were out to dinner filming with Kristen and Alex, who's our me and Taylor. And there was a party going on that we were going to go to after. And one of the Cammie, who was like was on season 3, called me and said Jessica is in the closet with Jason, or I don't remember exactly. Jessica's in the closet with Jason, or something's going on there. Like I walked in on them, blah blah blah, and I was like, what? Oh my god! Like, and this was like 2 days before we were going to Cabo. So,
oh man,
I get in the car to like drive to go to this party and confront Jessica and Jason, and because at this point, like Jessica and I are like cool, like we're like buddies. She knows, like, and so I felt like betrayed. And we had the big camera in my car with the light on, and a cop pulled us over, like, and to Taylor and I, and Taylor gives her fake ID instead of her real ID. And this is all on camera. And then she goes, and then she's like, oh, Alex has a fake ID, or says something. I don't know. Somehow I can't remember the exact thing, but we both get out. They like take us and put us in the police car. MTV's like, what is going on? Because they're following behind us. Thank goodness they got it all on camera, because it was like they had no reason to pull us over. Like the cops in town like really wanted to like make an example out of the kids on the reality show. So like anytime to like put them on blast or do something. And like when we went to court for it, they were like trying to get us to go around and talk to like schools about fake, like it was so like crazy. Yeah. And they would do this just to pretty much, you know, like they're trying to make us an example. And what I forgot the whole like court story. Everything got dropped. We were totally fine. But so then I never saw Jessica. right? So like all this happens behind the scenes. And then we fly to Cabo, and I'm just like boiling, like, cause I was so mad. I was like,
did you talk to Jason?
I probably was like, oh, you're done. Like, I hate you.
Yeah.
Like, we're over. Like, that was like the end of it for me. Like, I was like, no,
Good.
like you're,
Yeah.
And so Jason was like, bye-bye.
Yeah.
He wasn't going on the trip. So that was like a little bit of a difference. And then I didn't see Jessica until that night. That was the first time I had seen her on that trip. And this is after probably drinking and feeling angry and hormonal, like being a stupid high schooler. And I just went hog wild, and it was awful. Like, I mean, I would never wish that on anybody. And I just would never want to make anyone feel that way. And I'm not that way. So that's why, like, it's just such a mean girl thing to do. And I will say that because but when you're in high school, you just do stupid things. And like, that was I would have never hit her. Like, they were like, I just was this tough girl exterior trying to like hold my own,
Yeah.
So
I'm going to be honest. I was so scared of you.
Yeah, I mean,
I
was scared of myself. Yeah, I mean, I feel like I was scared. I was like, "What is this?" Like, oh my god! Like,
I would have said anything that you told me to say. I would like.
I know, it's just I was like, my mom was like, "You were a monster until you were 20. Like, your hormones are crazy." Yeah, I mean, and I honestly though, like, I was friends with everybody. Like, I don't feel, but I could see how people would probably like feel that I was maybe a little intimidating.
But at the same time, you were allowed to be angry.
Yeah.
It just wasn't how, like,
now you can see that it's not the healthy way to respond. Yeah. But it's just unfortunate because, like, I'm sure everyone can relate to having mean girl moments, but it's unfortunate that that's on camera for everyone to see forever.
My grandmother was like, my grandma watched it and she was like, "Oh, Alex, like, that's not real, right?" I was like, "No." I was like,
"Grandma, don't watch."
I'm like, this is so embarrassing. And I feel like that was like that's what stayed, like, what stayed with me for 20 years. And it's not something that like I hate that. Like, I hate that part of it, like, so much. And Jessica and I were fine, a week or two later, like, and it just wasn't, it's like, I feel like in high school, you just had to be like, I just was just trying to be a badass, and it was like not cool, and I'm like, we all make mistakes. I mean, I was like, I had girls that were mean to me when I was in, like, I feel like there's also like I'm not giving an excuse to this at all, but it's like, I feel like when you're bullied, then you feel like the need to like be more tough, and like then it's kind of like this yucky cycle like that, like, and so but yeah, I hated it. So trying to redeem myself in these years, and that's why I was like, Jess, can we take a picture? Because Jessica like feels in a whole different way. She's like, I just look like I'm this desperate, like, sad character, and she's like, and that's not who I was. And I was like,
she got the totally opposite edit of you.
Yes. So it's like, I just feel like we both kind of got the shit end of the stick, and like, and it's all good because look what it was. We would like do appearances after like the show, like we'd go up on stage together holding hands, like arms around each other, and people would be like, "Oh my god, how dare that they're friends." I'm like, you guys, like, have you ever fought with a friend before and then got over it? So but that's what made doing the Uncommon James thing so fun, because I feel like genuinely people were like, what? Like, yeah, we talk, we're friends.
And it's really cool for us to see all of you guys together again as a group too. So we loved really seeing that shoot.
It was the best time ever. It was the best little reunion like that we've ever, like, I like wish we could do it again and again and again.
But to clarify really quick, the reason you and Jason broke up was because he hooked up with Jessica at a party.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Jason was not, and he talks about it all the time. In high school, he was not in the right mindset. Like, he was just kind of he was like lost too in his own little
Yeah.
world.
He said that a lot
Yeah.
in his
Yeah.
journey. So
And he struggled, and
Yeah.
we were all there for him. But it's just, we were all dumb in high school, like every single one of us.
Yeah.
Like, we all made some sort of mistake.
Watching the show now and being able to rewatch all the episodes, we notice a lot of continuity issues,
Oh my gosh,
especially
so
your
much.
like short hair, long hair, lighter brown hair, dark brown hair.
That's the best part, because I'm like, you guys, when people would like try to argue with me about the show and certain things, I was like, God, did you see Talon had a shaved head? Like,
Yes.
two seconds prior, and then now he's back to normal. Like, you guys, like, it's an edited show. But I know people like want to believe so much. The storyline is like right there and so true,
And when you're in it, you don't notice. Like, you don't, when you're watching it, like for the first go around, you're so into the storyline, you don't notice it. And so now we're like, oh my God, she has dark brown hair, and then she had short hair, and that was a different outfit. So that
here's
was
my like
different day.
horrible extensions. Yeah. Oh my God. The extensions, you guys, like if I needed like a makeover so bad. Like they should have pulled those out. It was like right when spray tan first started. So we were like orange. Like it was so awful. And then like side note, like my weight was like really different on the show too. Cause I grew up doing musical theater. I was the lead in the musical my senior year, and I got vocal nodules and had to go on steroids. And you'll see like in scenes where like I'm a little bit heavier, and then like I look different. Like, and because when I went on steroids, it like automatically made me gain like 15 pounds. And so it's like, and that was like so hard because I'd like watch the show and people would be like, oh, you're like, so I'm like, it was like a medical condition. Otherwise I wouldn't have been able to sing. Like, and it was the only way. So there's a lot of like, you can see like a lot of interesting things.
Did MTV make you film a lot of these pickup scenes? And how'd you feel when you were filming these? Because it's like totally out of place. You're like talking about stuff that happened like a few months ago. How did that feel?
I honestly loved the entire process. I was like, yes. I was like, I wanted to be famous. I like thought I was going to be on Broadway.
And you're an
I was like,
actress,
I'll
so,
walk it 3 times.
Yeah.
Great. What do you need me to do? I'm here. Yeah, I love
it.
Yeah, I had no problem with it. Even like when I'd have to do pickup lines like that, like I knew kind of what they were doing. I was like, great. Like,
tell me what you want me to say.
Yeah.
I always say this. I feel like Talon understood the assignment in that way too, because he was so like a shit stirrer on the show. Yes, and like very much like, so I feel like you both understood the assignment. Like you knew what you were doing, you showed up, you knew what you were coming there for, like you were into it.
I feel like at a certain point I definitely like was like, okay, this is the character I'm gonna like, I already know, so I gotta kind of like play into that. And I kind of feel like, and maybe I'm wrong, Jason would have to, but maybe, I mean, I kind of feel like that's kind of how Jason and I like started dating, because it was like, all right, like let's do it for the show. Or like I mean, I don't think it was like we sat down and was like, let's do this for a storyline by any means, but it was like, it kind of was like in our face. We're like, yeah, all right, why not? So.
What musical theater, like what plays were you in high school? And did you have one that was like your favorite or anything?
Oh my gosh, I played Rosie in Bye Bye Birdie, and that was like my most, like that was like the best. That was the one where I got the vocal nodules, and I just loved, like I thought I would go to Broadway, like for sure. Like I was like, that was like my whole thing. I like would do community theater. I did community theater even like in my 20s. Like I loved.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I thought that I would move to New York and I would win a Tony. That just never happened, unfortunately. Now I just sing in my car and annoy my boys, and they're like, no more musicals. I'm like, no,
too bad.
You're gonna love it.
What's the one thing that you wish you could go back and erase or redo? And I feel like you will probably talk about Jessica in Cabo, but is there anything else from the show that you would go back and redo?
I mean, it's the obvious answer, is Cabo. I feel like I would be a little more like in general, like just a little more self-aware. But I feel like in that time when you're 17 and 18 and we were thrown into like this amazing experience with like blinders on, that like it probably wouldn't have been as good as if I was. I mean, I think you could probably tell with certain people on the show, like who was being a little more
Guarded.
self-aware
Mm-hmm.
and who wasn't. And I think, you know, it's obvious like when they were doing that. But I mean, I feel like my legacy is like my kids, like if they were to ever watch this show, or like my neighbors, like I love them to death. They're older boys and they know that I was on the show and they went to watch it and I was just like I'm mortified. I was like, please. I was like, I just don't follow my behavior, you know, like this is what you should not do. But overall I had so much fun. And like I look back, like there's so many genuine moments like that, like when I said goodbye to Taylor and her going to college, like we were supposed to go together and I decided to like try to pursue music in LA and like kind of like not ditched her, but like the last minute, like was like took a different turn. And I've known Taylor since I was in kindergarten. Like we've been best friends forever. And I mean, that's a real moment, you know, like a real sad moment, like where you say goodbye to your friends and you know that they're going to go find new friends and they're going to have this whole new life. And just like graduation, like I don't know, I think there's I mean, I'm sure there's plenty more little scenes that I would like, the whole Casey Reinhardt thing, like that is like I don't even want to talk about. But it was like this like crazy ex-boyfriend that was trying to get back at me and be mean, and I felt like she fell into that, and like because her boyfriend at the time was best friends with him, so they were like, that's what I felt was happening. I don't know if that was what she was doing. I don't think it was. But like how that was handled, like I'm not proud of that moment either. Like there's just a lot. Like,
well, I will say, I know that was probably embarrassing for you, but I will say I dealt with a really similar situation in high school, and it always made me feel better that you had dealt with a similar situation, and it always made me feel better, and like that I could stand up for myself because you did, and I was actually able to confront the person who started the rumor. And I think that had a lot to do with you, actually, and just seeing it play out on television and be able to like stand up for myself, essentially.
Yeah.
No, so like, just don't feel too bad about that being on television because it helped me.
Yeah. No, I love that, and that makes me feel bad. I mean, that like makes it worth it to me, you know. Like, and I mean, there was a lot of those stories. Like, everyone has a rumor at some point about them in high school, and that's what's sick about rumors. It's embarrassing. They're not true. Like, you know, it's just, and you should stick up for yourself. Like, you shouldn't let people walk all over you. And yeah, I just think there's like certain parts of the show where I wish I would have handled it differently, but like I was like, who knows?
You wouldn't
like,
have known at that time.
No.
Exactly. Yeah.
And now, like, you know, who cares? Like, it's out there, and like it was a great show and it did well, and that's who I was. I did not edit myself at all. So.
You are who you are, and we love it.
Yeah.
So when the show did end, was that a weird like transition? Like, did you get approached by a lot of people, and just like what was that like?
Oh my God, you guys, like it was like one of the craziest experiences I've ever, to this day. Like I remember we would walk through malls and do like these appearances, like Steven, Dieter, Lauren, Jason, the majority of the cast, and they had to shut down like Mall of America like one time. And like people were like, we would go through the airport, like where like the real celebrities go through, like these back areas. People were like pulling Jason's shirt. Like it felt like, you know, like when you see the Beatles go through and they're like, back in like the 60s, like that's what it felt like for us, because there was no social media. I mean, MySpace was like just blooming, but like people were like, that was your only like real connection, you know, is like to like see them in person somewhere, and like, you know, and it was like it was insane. And I mean, I could not go for a long time. I could not go to certain, I mean, everyone would know who you were. And I was
Mhm.
like, what is this? Like, I was like, yeah, bring it on. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm here for it.
yeah. Like I went to this private, like 2-year college for a minute while I was like living in LA trying to do music. Girls would like come into my dorm, like steal my clothes, slip me notes under the door. I would walk downstairs. They would be watching, like having like a Laguna Beach marathon. I was like,
Oh my gosh.
hey
Yeah.
guys. And like, or like people were just like, oh, I hate you. Or like, it was just, or I love you. Like, you know, it was crazy because I never considered myself like a celebrity by any means, but at that time, it was nuts.
Were you in LA when they were filming The Hills? And did you ever get approached about being on it?
Gosh, see, this part of my life is very fuzzy. I was hanging out with Heidi and Jen a lot during that time.
Ooh.
Yeah, so there's a lot of like I dated Frankie Delgado like in that like we seen a 10 like so there's been like there was a lot of crossover. But I don't believe because like Talon was living with Frankie, and that's how I met Frankie. And then Lauren and Heidi had totally gotten into a fight by this point, and she was hanging out with Jen. And so there was like a period of time where it was like Heidi, me, and Jen. And then I hung out a lot with Dieter, but they approached me and asked me to like not to be a part of it by any means, but like I mean not to be like a main cast member, but to like maybe do like a film something, but I couldn't remember, to be honest.
That's fair.
We were all running with the same crew, so that was kind of funny.
Did you watch the show?
Did I? Not really. No, like I've seen bits and pieces here and there. I know I was living at the Palazzo like when they met like Audrina at the time. Like I had just moved there briefly. But no, I watched a little bit when Kristen was the main character, but I know I like bits and pieces, like very little.
I can't believe that you were living there too. I love this behind the scenes
Yeah.
tea that we're getting.
Oh, we were like all going out together. Like
That's
I was
amazing.
living with Alex Hooser.
So fun.
And yeah, it was like a whole like I'd see Kristen all the time.
You guys like on the show. That would have been so cool.
It would have been cool to see how because there was like, you know, it was like there was like Audrina threw ice at me one time and we got to fight a club. I don't remember why, but there was like definitely some good stuff. But I think at that point the show was like so controlled and such a scripted series that like
yeah.
You know, so
I would love to see the B-roll because I'm sure you are on like some sort of like extra footage.
I'm sure there are cameras somewhere. There was so many good things too. Like I wish like Laguna released like some like the extra footage that never aired. Yeah. And I mean there was like Taylor got her nose pierced.
That's on the season 2 DVD.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I love that one.
Yeah. Or like there was so many funny little things that I wish like they would like re-release now.
Yeah.
You know, like just to like surprise everyone.
We do a special features episode where we watch stuff on the DVD. So like we recap that for season 1 and we'll do that for season 2.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah.
We really loved your performance of Hello on the show. That was your single that they highlighted. When you were in LA, like what was your singing journey like and what did you do?
So pretty much immediately I got signed to Universal Records.
Wow.
And the guy that wrote Hello, his name was Tom Keane. He was like a big 80s producer, like did all of like Shaka Khan's like albums and Chicago and like and so I worked pretty much just with him and we created like a whole album. I went on like multiple mall tours. Like I did the same mall tour that like Britney Spears first did, like when she came out. Cool. Yeah, like and just like I did like those little things, and then like I was like the #1 MySpace artist for a long time,
awesome.
Which was like it was like a big deal back then. Like, and I feel, and then it just kind of like fizzled. Like it was like they they didn't put a lot of money towards, and to be honest, like, I feel like I wish I would have taken it a little bit more seriously. Like, I just there was so much going on after the show. It was like, I was like partying and like going out and traveling. And like, I wish I would have been a little more focused, because I think like that probably would have helped me. But I was not like a pop rock artist. Like, that was like what they tried. I had never like sang as like Alex. I'd always been a character on the stage. And like, for me, like, my vocal talents, I feel like, are much more like Broadway than it is like a pop, artist. And so, I like, if you saw me on stage, I feel like you'd be like, oh my gosh, like, she's way better than like me singing, like standing and singing. I just like wasn't that big of that wasn't my dream. That's not what I wanted to do. It was kind of like the opportunity came. I was like, oh my God, let's get, like, I'm signed. Like, but I had to go through all the same things. Like, I remember singing in front of all the big, like, label heads, and like going to New York. I lived in Nashville for like 3 months recording like songs for the album. And it's just a hard industry. And they ended up like shelving my album, which is very common, like with a lot of artists. And at that point I was like, so done with LA. It was a icky, like now things are coming out and like people are understanding that there's a lot of like powerful people that were trying to get you to do, like, it was just an icky industry for me. And I like literally packed my bags one day and I was like, I'm done. Like, I want to move home. I want to go back to school, and I want to like not be in LA or do this anymore. But I was like, at that point, I'm like, I need to go to school, need to like know what I'm going to do with my life.
So we have a bunch of fun questions that we had from being fans of the show, and questions that we've seen from other fans on the internet.
Yeah.
And you can pass on answering some of these questions, but I feel like we wouldn't be doing the fans justice if we didn't ask you these questions.
Let's do it.
In the first episode of season 2, we see a scene of you buying Christian Dior heels. Was that real, or was that for a show?
Oh, this is a good story. That was real, but funny story, my card got declined. So I didn't get to walk out with them in that moment. But I did go back and get them. So it was like me walking out with the bag was empty, but I did have
That's so funny.
That's a good one.
They were cute shoes.
Yeah.
I wish I still had them. Those are like iconic. Right?
Yeah.
Vintage Dior.
Yes. So the next question about like specific scenes is in the nail salon scene when you guys walk in and Kristen and Jessica like are already there. They have a line where you say something about, I'm so excited to go to the dance with Jason. And then we see Kristen like, oh my gosh. So did you actually say that, or we're assuming that was recorded another time?
That was absolutely a voiceover, my friend.
Yeah.
Perfect example.
That honestly breaks my heart because it's one of my favorite scenes.
It's a great scene, yeah.
Yeah, Kristen's reaction to like you saying that, quote unquote, is like the funniest thing to me. And I wanted it to be real so bad. And these two battled me on it, and they're like, no, it's definitely like a wild line. And I'm like,
we don't see her mouth moving.
Nope. You caught it.
On Back to the Beach, you mentioned the reason for the animosity between the two cliques was a stolen fake ID. Do you remember like details on that, and can you elaborate?
So having a fake ID was like a big deal in high school, and I'm almost, and maybe like, I think I was talking to Kristen about this at the photo shoot, because she was like, I don't even know why like I didn't like Taylor. Like, I was like, oh no, I think it was because you thought Taylor stole your fake ID. And then like, because her and Taylor were like good friends. They went on a trip to Colorado together with their moms, and like somehow they came back and like Kristen lost her ID and thought that Taylor stole it. And I thought that was the reason. It might have not been like the reason. That Taylor can confirm for me, but I'm pretty sure that was the reason that sparked the feud.
And I'm so happy you remembered that, because on the Back to the Beach podcast, I feel like Kristen and Steven don't remember all the details all the time. And so when you said that, I was like, yes.
Yeah. A reason. We needed a reason. Yeah.
I'm scared to ask this because you said you didn't want to talk about this, but
oh no, it's fine.
And you can pass. What was the rumor that Casey made up about you?
she said that I smelled bad. And so this was coming from an ex-boyfriend who was mad at me and like just had like a vendetta out for me. And he was good friends with her boyfriend, now husband. And I like the whole thing was like, I was mad because she knew that he was doing that and she repeated it on camera, which he was just trying to hurt me and be a dick. And like that was why I was like mad at her. I'm like, you knew what he was doing. Like that wasn't like a true thing. But yeah. He said that I smelled bad. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. Way to get me.
Yeah.
I mean, I said earlier that I dealt with a similar situation, and it was literally a guy that I dated for like 2 seconds, and I was like, I was never close enough to you in proximity to actually have you know that about me.
No,
so I don't know why you're telling people this.
It was, and like he ended up like apologizing, like crying, like, I'm so sorry, I was just so mad at you. And I was like, well, now it's on forever. Like you just really wanted to hurt me. So
yeah, I would have died if it was on TV. So I mean, I applaud you. That's incredible that you dealt with that.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? We all can be a little sneaky sometimes. Not me though. No.
Yeah. There was also an episode where you mentioned that you saw Jason's car parked in his driveway, and you said when he asked you about it, you said that you were driving to the park and you like just so happened to see his car. So did you actually drive to the park, or were you just driving by his house to see if he was home?
That was like a common theme in high school. Like it was like, let's go drive by Talon's house and see who's there. Like let's go see like if Jason's home. Like, you know, or like let's see like, because everyone's car would be parked out so we would know what was going on, you know?
Yeah.
So I do think, I mean, there is like where his parents lived, like there was like a friend of mine that lived right up the street. I didn't want to say his name on camera. I do remember this now. And I was and I would always have to drive past Jason's to get to his house. And so I'm sure that was like why I was like so awkward. Like, but in all honesty, we were always stalking everybody. Like it was like, oh, let's go see who's at so-and-so's house.
That's so
that makes
funny.
a lot of sense that you didn't want to say someone's name on camera. That makes a lot of sense.
That makes
now.
a lot of sense.
Did you watch season 3 of Laguna Beach, and what was your honest opinion on it, if you did?
You know what? I was just thinking about that. Like, I think was I on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Okay.
I think one episode.
Yeah.
Okay. I was just thinking about how I have not seen that show.
Oh, really?
Or maybe I did like but because that came out when I was in LA, so I was like not really paying attention. But I just had heard through the grapevine that everyone was like, "Oh, this is horrible." But I loved Kendra. Like Kendra and Cammie were like our good friends, and like it just like wasn't the same effect with like all new kids.
I think the drama wasn't there. Their friend group was a lot less explosive, maybe. I don't know.
Well, and but see, this is the whole thing. It's like they saw the fame, like all the clout that came with the first 2 seasons, and I feel like they were on good behavior because they knew what was going to go on TV. You know, it was like it was very like, I mean, I don't know, but I would assume that
for sure. So that's actually the end of the burning questions that we had, and you answered all of them, which we're so excited about. So thank you very much.
Of course.
We're almost done our interview, and we're so happy that you came on and talked to us. Is there anything you wanted to promote that you're working on, or anything that you wanted to shout out?
You guys can follow me on my Instagram, Alex Murrel, and my TikTok. I'm trying to be better at TikTok and do like some funny videos. And that's also Alex Murrel.
Okay, last question. So since we are Millennial TeaV, we wanted to ask, what's one thing from the 90s or the 2000s that you miss? Like fashion, music, pop culture?
I was going to say the music. Like,
what?
I feel so sad for our kids. Like, what music is like, I was the girl that had like I would go to the CD store with my dad and like pick out like the album and like listen to it over and over. And like, it it wasn't like TikTok songs that were made up that are now like being, it was like, I know, and it's just, there's just like, and especially hip hop, like I'm like, what is this? Like this is like such garbage. And I'm like, I'm listening to like my dad's music now, like because I'm just so into like different, like I can't listen to this era of music. So I like hope that the fashion I'll leave forever. Like I'm good with that. 90s I like, but like 2000s, like no.
Some of your fashions though were pretty good. Like even for 2000s, I will say, like you guys were fashion icons. Like it was,
the tank tops with the jean skirts and the
yes,
and the like low rider pants you can't even bend down because your butt would show. Like I'm really into like mom jeans now. And so let's hope it doesn't come full circle.
Yeah.
Yes. So, absolutely. Well, Alex,
thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Honestly, this was awesome, and I'm so excited that you were our first guest. You are iconic. Alex M is everything. So we're so happy that you were here.
Thank you for having me, and I feel really special that I was guest number 1.
Yes. And please feel free to shoot anyone else our way.
I'm going to. You guys are gonna get an email, I promise.
Oh, thank you.
Yay, we're so excited.